He's a motivational, inspirational speaker and life coach. Please welcome Mr. Peace.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? I go by Mr. Peace, Kevin. I got done here at Old High School back in 2003, and it's great to see so many of your faces this morning. I see a lot of people that I recognize, and I like seeing all the people in reindeer outfits and Christmas trees and ribbons. So I appreciate everyone that participated in that today. Before I begin any of my talks, I speak to people all over the Midwest. I speak from age 5 all the way up to age 95. And before I begin any of my talks, I'd like to let those know that I'm speaking to let all of you guys know that every breath that I take this morning is going to be worth your time. It was about 6 months back, and one of my buddies decided to have lunch at one of the Coney Islands. And he gets in there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everyone that had lunch there is already gone, so he beat that rush. And he goes up to the counter and sits down at the stool right by the bar section there and orders his lunch. And in walks this complete stranger, right? So he's the only person in this Coney Island. Well, in walks this complete stranger, and he could have chose to sit at any other seat in the Coney Island, and he chooses to sit right next to my friend, right next to him. And he starts to unload that he just got back from the doctor's office, and he had to tell somebody. And the first person to tell was my friend. He was given less than 6 months to live. He just got diagnosed with terminal cancer. And for the next 45 minutes, which is the amount of time that I have with you this morning, for the next 45 minutes, he talked about how his whole life he put people down. Starting in school, college, after college, work, his own family. He built up his wealth at a job he hated, just to be told that he has less than 6 months to live. He sacrificed so many of his dreams, so many of his passions, and really trying to make a life out of treating people the right way, where he'd have a legacy of where people would actually want to remember him, just to be told that he has under 6 months to live. And in this 45 minutes time, right, in 45 minutes time, this complete stranger had a bigger impact on my friend than people that have been in his life for over 25 years. Main reason I'm here this morning is because I want to let all of you know that you have that same power. And sometimes it's not 45 minutes, sometimes it's only 5 minutes or a minute or a smile, and that changes someone's life forever. See, in the U.S., every day in the United States, 160,000 students skip school. 160,000. That's like shutting down 175 South Lyon East, closing the doors. And every day they skip school because they're too afraid to come to school. They're too afraid to get bullied, intimidated, harassed, teased, put down. How many of you guys ever felt afraid to come to school before? Thanks for raising your hands. I appreciate you guys having the courage. I know there's a lot more people that didn't raise their hand, but that's okay. I got mine raised because I was there too. And it's something that, we shouldn't feel afraid to come to school. See, some of us have bad days, right? Where we do something that we don't mean, or we say something that we don't mean, and it's just one act, right? But bullying is a repeated act. It's doing the same thing again and again and again and again and again, day after day after day after day after day, to the same person, on purpose, trying to put them down, gain power over them, lower their self-esteem. That's bullying. But the problem is that what's not bullying, that one action, that one word you say, the couple words you say, and sometimes bullying isn't even physical, hitting somebody or saying something verbal. Sometimes bullying is just excluding somebody. You leave that person out, that's a form of bullying. But that one act, what I've seen happen in my life, can destroy a life. So it's even something beyond bullying. It's about your every action. Now, why do you guys think bullying happens? Anybody? Want to take a stab at it? Yeah, go ahead, please. The bully feels insecure. Okay. Anybody else? Why does bullying happen? Yeah, in the back. People think that they need to show off in front of other people. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else? Why does bullying happen? Yeah. Someone else is hurt inside, so they want to do the same to somebody else, right? To kind of drive away some of their pain. That's good. That's a great answer. Yeah. Anybody else? They like being mean. That's a good one too. Thank you. Yeah. All the way up on the 3rd floor there. Thank you. The biggest thing that I've seen in my life is that bullies, they're hurt inside, right? And so they hurt other people because that's the only thing that they know. And whether it's from getting it at home, or from their older brother or sister, or someone else in their life, hurt people hurt people. That's just how it works. Hurt people hurt people. And I get it. Because when we had an assembly like this, multiple assemblies back at the old high school, I was the person in the back making fun of the speaker, heckling them, right? And it always happens. Whether it's a crowd this big or bigger, or just a group of 50 people, I was the person that, needed the attention and still had to put someone else down. And whatever that person said was in one ear and out the other. And the reason I did it is because I felt so empty inside. And I felt so alone. And every time after all of my talks, after I spill my guts to those that I'm speaking to, the same people that were laughing and joking, cracking the jokes in the beginning, are always the people that come up to me afterwards and say, "Thanks for touching my heart. Thanks for coming today." I get it, right? I had this dream the other night, and you guys have dreams, like when you sleep at night? Okay, great. That's awesome. I had this dream, true. I don't tell fake dreams. And I bought a Toyota Prius and a cow. And I was with my buddy. I said, "Look, hey, you can take the Toyota Prius. You just go ahead, drive it home. I'm going to take my cow." And I was like 20 miles from home, so looking back in the situation, I probably should have, put the cow on top of the Prius or done something like with a trailer, so just I wouldn't have to avoid that long walk. But regardless, I put my cow in a crate and put the crate on my shoulders, and I started walking. And I've had high school students that have told me before, say, "Come on, Mr. Peace. Cows are like 1,000 pounds. That's impossible. You couldn't have held that cow on your shoulders." And I simply remind them that this right here is steel, okay? So I continue to walk like that. I'm walking, getting a good pace going with my cow on my shoulders, right? And I'm going through like frolicking meadows and countryside, like Sound of Music. You guys ever seen that movie? That's kind of like how it looked. And I'm like walking there, with my cow. And I kind of like over yonder in the distance, all of a sudden I hear like this sound coming down the hills, like in these barrels. And I'm like thinking to myself, what's going on? So I kind of like speed up a little bit, and I'm walking, and then all of a sudden it's getting like louder. It's coming like down the hills. I'm like, oh boy, so I'm like kind of running. Then I see these like little kids in these barrels, and they're rolling down the hill, right? And they're coming like right for me and right for my cow. So I'm like going as fast as I can. They're coming, getting closer. At the last second, I throw my cow to the side, and I dive out of the way. And one of the kids, they go right through the crate, right through my cow. And so I rush over to Matilda, and I say, "Oh, Matilda." And she's not like a typical cow. She's like an Avatar type cow. She got tubes and like connections like all over the place. And I'm like, "Oh gosh, oh." And she's like laying there, and she's like, "Kevin, Mr. Peace, fix me. Fix me." And it was right then and there, I remember this clearly. I like woke up from the dream. I remember taking a couple steps back and saying that I don't have time. I don't have time. My talk today, I'm going to talk about how to deal with bullying, how to prevent it, how to stop it. But my talk today is more of a talk of urgency and a talk of time. Because I've seen all too often where just a couple seconds of your time can destroy a life forever or uplift one. And that's a choice. Can anybody tell me when your most painful memory was? When your most painful memory was? How long ago? One of them, or whatever one you can remember. When was your most painful memory? Anybody? How long ago was it? Sorry, where? Yeah, please. Your dog died. Okay. How long ago, though? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Most painful memory? Yeah, 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. 2 weeks ago. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Most painful memory? How long ago? Most painful memory? Anybody more than a year? Yeah, in the back there? 10 years ago, when your dad left. Thanks for sharing that. How old are you now? 19? Yeah, behind. One more over here, one more. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Ex-boyfriend, you said, bullied you to the point that you wanted to take your own life. Thanks for sharing that. Well, I'll take one more. Go ahead, yeah. How long ago? 2008. Hey, man. I can feel that pain, too. It's funny. I didn't ask any of you what your most painful memory was, but pretty much everybody that I asked shared it. All I asked was when. And it's crazy, you know. I'll be speaking to a group of kindergartners, some 5-year-olds, and they say, hey, Mr. Peace, my most painful memory was like 10 years ago. And I'm like, but you're only 5. They're like, I know, it's crazy. And then I'll be speaking to a group of like 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds. I have a friend that's 94. I got a friend that's 99. She's going to be 100 in a couple weeks. And I kick it with people at that age too, you know. And I asked her about her pain. And her hand went up just as quick as some of yours did, which tells me that the pain, it's still on your heart. Because you remember it like it happened yesterday. And this person that's 99 told me that some of her most painful memories were 80 years ago when she was in high school. She was humiliated and ridiculed and made fun of. And the pain's still there. Had a teacher the other day, I was speaking at a middle school. This 8th grade teacher raised her hand. She said some of her most painful memories was when she was in middle school, being bullied. And that's why she's a teacher now. See, when we're born, we're like this empty cup, right? Like our heart. You're free of that pain. You haven't experienced any of it. But little by little, you know, you're put down. You said that you're not good enough. You're called worthless. You're called stupid. You guys can fill in the adjectives. Pretty soon this cup, your heart, it gets full. Unless you deal with it in a healthy way, healthy manner. So the question always becomes, if your heart gets so full of this pain, how is there ever any more room for love? And there's not. And you think about the tragedies that we keep seeing around us happening again and again, right? And you wonder how full of pain the person's heart was that finally their cup overflowed or their balloon burst. I always draw like a heart when I'm talking to like elementary students, you know, like a heart, and I'll put like 1 mark on it, you know. Somebody says something mean to you, somebody kicks you, and it's just like, you know, they're just having a bad day. It's a one-time thing, right? But then somebody does it 10 times a day. And then 5 people do it 10 times a day. And they do it for a full week, and they do it for a year, and pretty soon that heart's completely black. And I had these little first graders come up to me after one of my talks, and they said, Mr. Peace, my heart looks like that. And they're first grade. Some of my most painful memories, Ms. Bowman was talking about being in high school. I was freshman prince, mainly due to my good looks. And I remember being at the dance. My friend Brianne, who I'm really good friends with right now, she lives in Kansas. She came up to me in front of about 15 of my friends that I was trying to be friends with, that I kind of, in my mind, said, you know, they're at that rank, at that level that's a little bit higher than some of the other people. They're like the in crowd, they're the popular ones. And she came up to me, asked me to dance. And in front of these 15 people, I just wasn't sure how I would look if I said yes, if they would judge me, if they would judge her. And I said, no, I can't. I turned her down. And I crushed her. My friend Dwayne, he's 10 years out of high school, like myself. And he just moved back to his hometown. And he tells me that he went to the grocery store the other day in his hometown, and he sees this girl that he put down, him and his buddies, day after day after day after day after day after day after day for 2 years straight because of her weight. He sees her in the grocery store, and as he's telling me the story, he's crying to me, saying that he can't even look at her because of how guilty he feels. He says, you don't want to be that person. True story, this guy named Dennis, he was a senior in high school, model material, great looking on the outside, right, and always putting other people down that had any type of imperfection on their outside. He was working on his motorcycle one day outside, it started raining, so he brought it down in the basement indoors. And he was working on it, one of the sparks through the ignition kind of hitched back, caught fire, bike exploded. He was burned, his entire body except the bottom of his feet, 3rd-degree burns. Now all of a sudden, this person that made a living out of putting other people down because of how they looked on the outside wasn't looking the best himself. When it came time to reach out for support from other people around him, people weren't that quick to want to help him back because of how he treated them. My speaking mentor was speaking to a high school in Detroit in the early 90s. This kid comes up to him, his high schooler, after his talk, and for like 3 hours just, unloads all the crap going on in his life. His parents are fighting on the verge of divorce, problem with drugs, problems in school with his grades, his biggest problem, being bullied. Being bullied. And so, 5 years later, sees this guy on TV. His first name was Marshall. It was Eminem. It was Eminem. Pain doesn't escape celebrities. Doesn't escape any of us. It's what unites us, right? But we can either be that, that pain contributor or the pain alleviator. Had another friend who's in his 30s now, and back in middle school, he remembers putting this kid down that sat alone at lunch table. You're a loner, you're a loser, every day, right? Get some friends. Well, his freshman year of high school, they merged a bunch of middle schools together. They built a new high school. So all of a sudden, all these new schools coming together, he wasn't as popular anymore. And all of a sudden, he kind of dropped a little bit on the ranks, and he was sitting alone at lunch. And so the first day of school, he sits next to the kid that he always made fun of. And the kid sits down, and he says, "It sucks, doesn't it? It sucks, doesn't it?" Speaking to elementary about a year ago, this third grader named Dominic comes up to me after my talk. He says, "Mr. Peace, do you want to know when my most painful memory was?" I said, "Yeah, tell me." He's like, "All right, have a seat." So I'm sitting at eye level with him, right, so I can see him. And he says, "My most painful memory was 2 years ago back in first grade. I had my heart crushed by this girl." And I said, "Oh, tell me what happened." I'm thinking, that they're starting to date, younger and younger nowadays. And he goes on to say that there was this 5th grader on the bus that turned around to him every day and said, "You're never going to have any friends. You're never going to have any friends." But then he said, but you know what, Mr. Peace? I said, "What?" He said, "Now I have best friends. Now I have best friends." How many guys got best friends over here? Okay. Can I get a couple answers why that person's your best friend? Why is that person your best friend? Anybody? Yeah, over here. Say it again. So you guys put up with each other's weirdness and craziness. That's a good one, yeah. So best friends. They see you for who you really are. You can be yourself around them. You can toot in front of them, and they'll still accept you. You can do all these things, right? They got your back. Trust them. What if we treated people, everybody, like we treated our best friend? We still have bullying. I think you guys would still get in some fights, right? But you would always work it out because it's your best friend. I had this 3rd grader. His name was also Dominic. It's like, that's a popular name or something nowadays. And after my assembly, he talked about his best friend. He got up on the microphone in front of his classmates and he started crying, this little guy. He said, "My best friend's my best friend because they stuck up for me when I was getting bullied, and I didn't have the guts to." And I mean, that's what a best friend's about. Seeing someone for their heart first, right? I was down in Texas Tech a while back. After the seminar, I'm just chilling in the hallway, kind of letting it clear out before I leave and just kind of digesting and reflecting on what was said. And I'm just chilling there, and this guy bumps into me. He kind of hits my legs, pulling on my leg. He's in a wheelchair. And he asked me to kind of come down to his level, this complete stranger. I said, "Hey," because he wanted to tell me something. So I sit down right next to him, and he's in his wheelchair, and he says, "Hey, I have a friend." I said, "Okay, cool, man. That's great. I do too." And he said, "I have a friend, and they love me." I said, "Great. That's cool." And he said, "They love me because of this." Pointed to his heart. "Not because of this." He grabbed onto his wheelchair. "They love me because of this." I always do this example. I'm like with the little elementary kids and even in middle school, and I got a $20 bill, right? And I ask them, like, "How many of you guys want this $20 bill," right? And every hand in the room is up. And they're like, "Mr. Peace, Mr. Peace, please, Mr. Peace. Mr. Peace, you're my homeboy." I'm like, "I just met you." And I'll crumple this $20 bill, I'll sneeze on it, I'll like jump on it, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James on it, right? And everybody still wants a $20 bill, no matter how it looks. If it's a little bit torn on the edges, if it's crumpled. This one little 6-year-old, she's like, "Mr. Peace, I'll take that $20 bill. It has dog droppings on it." I said, "Okay." And it's funny because however it looks, it's still worth $20. But when it comes to people around us, right? They have the right image in our minds. They're not the right size in our minds. Comparison, the quickest road to unhappiness. We do it all the time. And we separate people because of it. But we don't even really know them. We don't look for their heart first. So all of a sudden, they look a little different. They're a little crippled themselves, and we're not as quick to accept. They're not worth as much as some of our best friends. Right? They don't have the Aeropostale A or the Abercrombie or the Hollister A or the Nike K, and so we judge. See, we got to be able to see people for who they really are, right? As best friends. And 100% of the time, because I see too many 12% friends and 14% friends and 25% friends, and I'm only friends with you when it's convenient for me. I'm only friends with you as long as him, and him aren't around. I'm only friends with you as long as she doesn't come by. But that's where a lot of pain happens too, right? How many of you guys grew up in Michigan, right? In the winter months when that heater comes on, you're like getting dressed by the heater, and you're like, oh, yes, that's good. Yeah, and then all of a sudden it goes off. You're like, no, come back on. How about some of you ladies? Some of you ladies where you're out in the sun and tanning and sipping on tea, iced tea, and reading a nice book, and you're just like, oh, the sun, yeah, and then the sun goes behind the clouds. You're like, no, oh, Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me, please shine down on, your name? Say it again. Taylor E. I had to change your name because I had to make it rhyme. But we know that happens, right? But again, it's you're either on fire for a friendship or you're not. Because when you're in between, when you're that 50% friend, that's when you cause a lot of pain. It's 100% friends. Yep, a little bit messy. So you guys can kind of see that. Are you getting that, Grant? Are you zooming in there? Thanks, great. So, right, the ideal situation is that, bullying, that certain actions don't happen. Because just like shaving cream, toothpaste, whatever I use for this example, once it comes out, it's very hard to reverse it. I kind of compare that to like the toxic words that we spew on each other and the mean actions that we do to each other. That once they're out, they're so hard to undo. It causes a big mess. If we had more time and the right technology, yeah, we could get this back in there. But that's the thing. It takes time to heal. So ideal situation is you don't let it happen in the first place. Now, obviously, that's not an ideal world because we know that it happens, right? So I tell people, you're getting bullied. You approach the individual and you look them in the eye and you ask them to please stop. You don't say it where you're screaming, where you're whispering. You say, please stop. Chances are they don't. So then I say, all right, then you got to get help. You got to get help. But then I got people, say, oh, Mr. Peace, you're your age younger, whatever it is, Mr. Peace, then I'm a tattletale, man. Come on. I can't do that. But then I got my friend G, short for Gina. Her freshman year of high school, multiple times walking down the freshman hallway, one of her friends, bigger guy, played football, had a big voice, and in front of everybody walking down the freshman hallway, on multiple occasions, yo, G, you're looking a little big today, girl. What's going on, G? But he was just joking. And then G got home that night. She looked in the mirror. She thought, maybe I'm looking a little big. So she skipped dinner that night. And the next 2 nights. For the next week. The next 4 to 5 years of her life. She became anorexic. She was in the hospital, almost died. But he was just joking. Had an 8th grader come up to me, messaged me on Facebook, saying that she's getting harassed by her ex. It's becoming a sexual harassment case. It's getting that bad, some of the names he's calling her in front of multiple classmates and on Facebook. And she's getting suicidal because of it. And she's too afraid to tell anybody because she doesn't want to look weak to her parents, doesn't want him to get more upset at her, cause a bigger scene. So I forwarded on to the counselor. Counselor calls him, her, and a police officer into the office, and they end it right there. They squash it. A couple weeks later, I'm having lunch with her, and she runs up to me and crying. She says, Mr. Peace, you saved my life. She can't ever tell me that getting help from an adult or a teacher or somebody that you confide in is tattletaling. Especially when you know people's hearts and cups that are that full of pain. See, all this though, guys, is still a choice. I remember being back in second grade on recess. Do you guys wish that you still had recess? Wouldn't that be nice? Maybe a nap in the afternoon with like a hot pocket or something. Wouldn't that be great? And I just made that up too. That was on the fly, saying hot pocket. That was random. But I was playing soccer. Any soccer players here too? All right, good stuff. Please play soccer. It was in second grade on recess. My friend Pat was on my team. He was playing goalie. My friend Pat was. And he wasn't the most athletic. He's from the trailer park. He didn't smell the best, didn't dress the best, and was made aware of that fact every day. But on top of that, he wasn't the best at sports, right? And so right before the recess bell rings, Pat lets in the winning goal. People on my team, they surround him, and they say, "What the heck are you doing, man? You're a loser. You're worthless. You suck." One kid shoved him down, kicked him. This back in second grade. And I remember vividly what I chose to do. Nothing. I did nothing. And I did nothing as middle school came. I did nothing as high school came, and he still got pushed in the hallways. Every one of those times, I could have told him to stop. I could have told him to knock it off. I had that type of power and influence. You know what I'm talking about with that. I could have got help from a supervisor, somebody. 5 years after high school, I'm having dinner with Pat. And he says to me, "Kevin, I needed you. I needed you back in middle school and high school. You weren't there for me." I hope in the depths of my heart, guys, that none of you guys have to be told that sentence in your life. But it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that. There was this high school in California, 2,000 students, about double this size, right? And they're in a gymnasium. And after the assembly, there's like an open mic portion of the assembly. And this girl gets up out of her seat. She's handicapped. She was born with a walking disability. She kind of has to walk like this, right? She's making her way to the microphone. And she's already getting bullied and teased every day at school, laughing stock of the school. She gets to the mic. She points to the star football player of the school, right? And this guy's like California dream boy. He's got like flowing locks of like golden Hercules mane flowing down his hair, his back. He's all-American quarterback. When he walks through the hallways, it's like Moses in the Red Sea. He's like walking, and people are like, "Ooh, and just parts. And this girl gets up on the mic, and she points to him, and she says, "I love you. I love that boy." In front of 2,000 students and peers, staff. And people that were already laughing, right, at this point are erupting in laughter. They're crying, they're laughing so hard, they're crying, they're tinkling their pants a little bit. And everybody ever done that before where you laugh so hard that you tinkle? Okay, all right, great. But she keeps pointing. She keeps pointing to this guy and saying, I love that boy. And right then and there, he had a choice of whether he was going to join in on the laughter or do something that could potentially save a life. So in front of 2,000 people, he runs from across the gym. He comes up on the stage and he scoops her up and swoops her around, twirls her around, and gives her one of the biggest hugs she's ever had in her life. And it took 2.5 hours for what happened next to occur. After he set her down for 2.5 hours straight, those 2,000 people that were just putting her down, one at a time, came and gave her a hug. Teachers included. One at a time. 2,000 times for 2.5 hours. And you can't even begin to imagine the impact that this had on this person's life, right? Just one action. All of you guys got that same power. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, might not be a week from now, but sometime in your life you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that choice. I was talking to this elementary. I come back to have lunch with the kids after spring break, and this first grader, about this tall, I walk in the lunchroom and he's like, "Yo, Mr. Peace, my boy, Mr. Peace." So I came over and said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" His first name was Trey. "Trey, what's going on, man?" He's like, "Hey, I can tell you something, man." He's like, "You know, you were talking about not bullying, treating people with respect, compassion, and love, right?" I said, yeah. He's like, "Well, after your assembly that day, I went home and I told my dad to start treating me, my mom, and my sister better, to start treating us with more kindness." He told me that his dad said, "You don't ever talk to me like that. I'm an adult. You don't ever talk to me like that." And he shoved him aside. A week later, his dad left. There's a lot of other stuff that was leading up to that. And this little first grader, he was so enraged. He's saying, "I don't even care. I want to treat people the way I'm being treated. I want them to feel what I feel." And I look at him, right, and our eyes are locked. And I'm sitting right at his level, and I'm saying, "Look, you know, you have an opportunity." This little first grader, you know, you have this opportunity to break whatever cycle in your life that you don't want. That you can still be a great son, a great brother, and eventually, if you have kids one day, you can be a great dad. And our eyes are locked, guys, and I see like a tear kind of starting to come down his cheek. And I'll never forget his next words to me, ever. He said, "I like chicken." I said, "What?" He said, I like chicken." And they were serving chicken tenders that day for lunch. And his mind was already on to the next thing, this little first grader, but I know for a split second that he really got what I was saying, right? But see, as funny as it is, you know, see guys, it all comes back to us having this choice. And I'm seeing the urgency to make a stand and do what's right more and more often with today's news. I can't tell you, my stack of newspaper clippings keeps getting bigger. 6-year-old takes life because of bullying. 7-year-old, bully side. 8-year-old, checks out. 6 years old. Been bullied for a week, comes home, tells her mom and dad, "I'm getting bullied, Mom, I need help." Tells her dad. They say, "Tough, we had to go through it, deal with it." A week later, she locks herself in the garage, turns on the car, dies from carbon monoxide inhalation. A 6-year-old. I just got a letter up on the F book, the book of face. And thanks. "Hey, Mr. Peace, you came to my school. This was this past Friday. The assembly was touching. I've been bullied my whole life. Last year was hard for me. Something happened. And on the last week of school, I just broke down. I was crying. I was so embarrassed. I wanted to skip school and just die. But I stayed strong and went through the year, and your speech helped me. Sometimes I cut myself, and when I was at the assembly, I was messing with some of the cuts on my wrist. Thanks for your help, though. I wish you could come every week and help people with people's problems. You saved my life." I get a lot of these. And, I was brought in to speak today to fix the bullying and harassment problem here at South Lyon East. But the truth is, I'm going to be leaving this afternoon. I hope to be back, and come and show with you guys in the future. But you got to own it. High school is supposed to be the best 4 years of your life, right? It's a lie for a lot of people. For a lot of people, that's a lie. But you got to choose that. And I know who the leaders are in this room. I've spoken to like over 100,000 people across the Midwest. I know who I'm looking at. You got to be the role models, and you got to set the example for somebody, and think about the legacy that you want to leave. because you can leave heart prints on people's hearts. You've already been doing that for me. If you want to reach out to me, if it's something that you're not comfortable with even talking to your parents or somebody else about, I'm leaving my information with Mrs. Bowman and some of the principals and counselors here. But you can also write down, if you want, mrpeace.net, mrpeace.net. I don't always get back to you right away, but I always get back to you. I'm going to close, I only got a couple minutes, with a quick hip-hop track, because that's what I do. Jason, can we get one going here? I got to get in my zone, 1 second. All right. If you guys got hoods up, please. Listen, yo. It's up to us all to put a stop to the bull in the classroom halls and on our Facebook walls. I wanna go to school, no matter the grade. I feel safe, I feel loved. Come on and celebrate it. So starting right now, I'm going to make a pledge to treat everyone like I treat my best friend. I'm saying now is the time, yeah, and today is the day. Let's put a stop to the bullying. Come on, no more pain. Yo, it's up to us all to put a stop to the bull in the classroom halls and on our Facebook walls. I want to go to school no matter the grade. I feel safe, I feel loved. Come on and celebrate it. So I gotta put myself in the other person's shoes, cause what I say might stay stuck just like glue on the other person's heart, and that's just not right. I gotta stand up South Lyon for what I know is right. If I see someone get bullied, I think of this rap and do what I can, do what I can to take action. Yo, now is the time. We got to tell adults or a teacher, yo, it's okay to get some help. It's up to us all to put a stop to the bull in the classroom halls and on our Facebook walls. I want to go to school no matter the grade. I feel safe, I feel loved and celebrated. So starting right now, I'm going to make a pledge to treat everyone like I treat my best friend. Yo, now is the time and today is the day. Let's put a stop to the bullying. No more pain. Thanks for touching my heart, guys. I'll be at lunch today. Peace.